Hi, good afternoon. Tammy Schrader coming to you to talk to you about esports this afternoon. Now, I am coming to you from Level Up Education Consulting, and we are so excited to be here to talk about esports and why esports and how you might get started with esports. So if you don't know what esports is, well, I'm pretty sure everybody knows what sports are, right? You know, the whole basketball, the baseball, the football, right? I don't have to explain, hopefully, that to anybody. Soccer. But what esports is kids getting together, and instead of forming teams to play on an actual, like a field, they form in rows around computers and they all play the same game against each other. So you might have a team of 5 kids here, 5 kids here. And what they do is they're all playing the same game and they're playing against each other. And this can be simple games. This could be Minecraft. This could be Rocket League. If you've never seen Rocket League, it's pretty impressive. It's a video game where you sit in a car and you're trying to score on a soccer field. The bad news about Rocket League for me, well, besides that I sucked at it, was that you can actually drive up and around the top of the island, like there's no gravity. So it makes it a little bit more interesting. So what I love about esports is that esports is this powerful. First of all, remember that saying I keep toting, you don't get to pick what motivates kids. And let me tell you, games motivates children. It does. That's just the way it is. And these kids get on there and they play against each other, and it's just powerful because you know what? They have to communicate, they have to collaborate, they connect, they form a team. I got to tell you, one of my favorite stories, right, is I went to Texas A&M. They've got esports camps there. And I got to hang out one summer just for a few days with this camp. So I walk into the room, and let me tell you, these are powerful rooms. These are not, I mean, these rooms are designed for this, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And these kids are around, and I can't even remember what they were playing. I think they were playing first-person shooters, but again, it's in camps after school. Parents all know about it, right? This is something they sign their kids up and pay for their kids to do. And what was fabulous about it was I'm sitting there watching, and this one kid, he's in the middle of them, and I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, he's telling kids, okay, go around the back, go around, and don't move and hold there, wait for this because I'm going to do this. And he's completely in control of this game, right? From this side, and they're all connecting and talking to each other. And I said to the guy running the camp, that's impressive. Like, that's impressive to watch a kid that is in 6th grade do this. Like, really, and these kids are all like middle school age. And he said, Tammy, my favorite thing about it is that kid in a classroom is the kid that doesn't really say anything. He doesn't really talk. Participation is very minimal. And I have to tell, I was shocked, because this kid had complete control over this team's agenda and what they were doing and how they were moving forward. Again, esports, collaboration, communication, creativity, problem solving, all of the above, all the time. It's fabulous. Now, I will tell you, in Washington State, the WIAA, right, the Interscholastic Association, has deemed esports is a sport, right? And I have had, this is one of my favorite stories. I was given doing a workshop, and I had a coach, a football coach, and he came up to me and he said, "This is not a sport." And I said, "WIAA has announced it, it's a sport." And he said, "Well, this is just stupid." And I said, "Well, that may be true, but we've passed the baton to our children. And if this is, hey, I'm good with it. If that's what they want to do, let's show them how to do it. And let's let them use all those team skills, right?" And he said, I did make the point. I can't imagine that the first time anybody picked up a leather ball and started running toward one end of a field, and the other team was beating the crap out of them, I can't imagine anybody thought that was intelligent either, right? People had to be going, what? And let me tell you how powerful esports is. Number one, watch championships. So League of Legends did a championship. Of course, it's online. And let me tell you, if you get a chance to watch that YouTube video, you should do it. Number one watched event of all time across the globe, like, with one exception. I'm going to give you the one exception. You could probably guess it. Bigger than the Super Bowl, bigger than the World Series, bigger than anything else, with one exception, and that exception is soccer, which you can imagine. right? What the Europeans call football. That is the #1 watched event of all time. But this is watched more than the Olympics, which is really powerful since we got the Olympics going on in Paris right now, right? So one of the best resources that I have ever found, it's a book, and it is written by a couple of my colleagues, Chris Avila, Steve Isaacs, and I apologize, the other 2 people, not that they're not as significant, just that I don't know them. The eSports Education Playbook. If you want to know how to set up an eSports, like an eSports team in your school, if you want to know really what are some of the better games, or maybe some of the more non-first person shooters, as a non-first person shooter person, I don't play first person shooters. This book is exceptional. It is exceptional. It is global. It is fabulous. One of the best resources out there. And so what I really want to talk about is, setting up an esports team is really the coolest thing ever. So when you start setting up esports, when my first thought was, okay, these kids are going to be sitting around. I in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, they're just kind of sitting around. They're not eating healthy. They're not. And you know what? That is absolutely a myth. Esports is run in the exact same way every sport is run. Kids have to eat right. They have to get enough sleep. They only practice a certain amount of hours a day. They have to figure out how to work together, how to collaborate together. And the cool thing that I love about esports is that it's not just about the gameplay. It's like every sport out there where, you know what? You're going to have some kids that go, you know what? I'm not really into playing this game, but I sure would like to graphically create the mascot. I'm not sure about this, but I would sure like to pick the colors of our team. And then you have jobs at esports like shoutcaster, and what that person does, oh my gosh, that, and if you've never seen this, you should, like, that's the commentator that sits there, right, and yells out what's happening in the game so that people that are watching can totally understand what's going on and which team is doing what. Because if you think watching sports is difficult, trying to figure out who's doing what on a game you may not even play, that is just amazing and powerful. And then I want to tell you, one of my favorite resources is a company, and they're out of Sweden, and they're called Game Plan. And the coolest thing about Game Plan is that they have incorporated esports into every content that you can think of. And they consistently and constantly are upgrading what they do and building curriculum for, like, let's say you say to yourself, this is kind of interesting. Kids are kind of interested and I have no clue what I'm doing. Okay. Just that's not a problem. So what Game Plan has done, if you get on their platform, by the way, it's a great LMS. Teachers can go in, they can look at content, and the content is spectacular. They are building things for, hey, computer science, math, art, music, their latest AI, right? Because AI is coming to us in a manner. And I can tell you, as somebody who sits on our Washington State AI committee, and I also sit on the national committee for AI and the implementation, let me tell you something. The biggest ways we're getting ready to show what AI is and what AI isn't is through gameplay, right? Which is right up my alley. So let's talk about, let's say I got kids, right, that want to play these games and we want to do something with them. Well, let me tell you something. You always get, right, parent permission. You always talk about which games are appropriate, which ones aren't. I myself, if I were working in a school, there would be no first-person shooters. Just because I just can't get behind that, and that's a hard sell for me. Even though I will tell you, there's been a lot of studies done, and violent video games do not inherently make people violent. My favorite quote was, "If violent video games made people violent, there would be no humans left on the planet." That is how many hours have been logged into all these first-person shooters. You don't get to pick what motivates people, right? It's just the way it is. So one of the things I really want to say about esports is you can work these esports into any content that you're passionate about, right? we get kids that I taught middle school for 15 years. We get kids that say things like, you know what, I don't like math. I'm like, how do you even know? I would get kids that say, I don't like science. How can you not like science? Science is about blowing stuff up. And you want to talk about some powerful stuff. I was invited last week to go to NASA headquarters, and you walk in and their entire displays are game-based. I got to see a docking station. The bad news was they were only built for kids, right? But the kids are sitting in this chair that they're moving, and they're showing this big video in front, and they're trying to dock onto the space station, right? The shuttle onto this, fabulous. And they had all these interactive things with Angry Birds and physics. And there's all kinds of things and all kinds of games that are nonviolent that kids can be playing to learn skills. And again, my favorite thing about esports is it's a community. It's a community of kids playing a game and trying to play together to win at something that motivates them, that they're passionate about. So again, best resources I've got out there for you. The eSports book by Steve Isaacs, fabulous. Talks about, again, how to set up a game, how to set kids up for success. And by the way, you don't necessarily need computers. You can actually be using iPads. We started an esports team with the school recently here last spring with switches, those Nintendo switches that you just hold in your hands, right? How to make teams, permission slips, how to talk to parents about it, how to talk to your school about it, right? And again, WIAA, Washington State, has said it's a sport. Right? If you're looking for content, you say, you know what? I want to have my kids in class doing this and form little teams and play games like Angry Birds, and you want to teach physics through that. There are ways to do that. There are resources out there. Again, no matter what content you're teaching, art, music, history, whatever that is, Game Plan can help you out with that. The latest and greatest, we're looking at AI in education. We're looking at ways to have games. And by the way, what I love about all these games around any topic is no matter where you go, people want to play games. Like, people want to play games. So I'll leave you with this last thing that I heard at a presentation last week at NASA. A lady named Robbie Merton, she's up giving a speech, and she says, I want all you to dig out your phones. And we all are sitting there with our phone, and she's showing the launch of the Saturn rocket and the Apollo 11, which, by the way, if you haven't seen that in a while, powerful. And she said, you have more computer access with your phone than they had to launch those rockets. And I know that to be true because in my last life, I worked for a NASA contractor and we built the space shuttle, right? And what I loved about it, she said, and what's the number one thing people are doing on their phones? And guess what it is? They're playing games. And me, I'm excited about that because I'm like, you know what? That just makes my point for me, right? That games are a thing, whether you're an adult, whether you're a kid, whatever you've got going on. So, but this esports, it's about collaborating and playing games as a group and teamwork and how to learn content through gameplay. Okay. So what I'm really excited about is having worked and been to NASA last week, our next podcast coming at you in a month is going to be about games in industry and how industry is using games to further their learning, right, for their employees. It's fabulous. I'm so excited to talk to you about that. Thank you for tuning in around esports. TAMMIE SCHRADER, have a nice afternoon. Thanks for joining us.